Hello, and welcome to round 4 of the Custom Formula Championship. We're headed to Macau this week. Definitely the harder circuit by far on the entire calendar, also the longest. Just an 8-lap race. Sounds like quite a short race, but it's going to be another sort of about 20 minutes in both of the two races that we've got. Got the drivers just going around now, so let's have a look. We can see someone practicing battling. So we jump on board with Zidor Kiepski, who's currently the fastest time on the practice session. And we can get to know this track a little bit, and one of the many ways that this circuit is quite dangerous. Just there you saw the two Leighton houses both there. Jorge Ruiz Ferrari, followed by his teammate Alan Cavaglia. We haven't seen Ruiz Ferrari in the past few races, so it's good to see him make a return back onto the circuit, even if it is unfortunately into a wall for the two Leighton houses, and it's just hopefully immediately demonstrating just how tricky this circuit is. We've got Yuki Suzuki here, our championship leader. And he's doing, it has to be said, phenomenally well given the amount of ballast the Japanese driver is having to deal with. But he's doing a very good job of it. Also returned to the grid after a sort of couple weeks of absence is Jean-Pierre Michael Schmigelski Jr. representing that Opel chassis. Lovely, lovely little livery, that one. Who else have we got? Let's have a look. Got Geroida Lanigan after his first win. Oh, seems like he's just gone back to the pit lane. After his first win last week, he's probably just hoping to keep that momentum going. See if he can get another good, strong finish. One driver I don't see on the grid just yet is Mr. Frank Furter. Yeah, maybe we will see him join in a little bit. Again, we're just watching the drivers going through their practice at the minute, really. It's not too much to watch. Let's maybe jump on board Yamaha here. Let's go ahead and get you all that nice little heads-up display, so we can follow them through this lap, hopefully without incident. So yeah, Macau, very, very challenging circuit. It's not really many corners with names, so it's going to be quite difficult for me to commentate on. A lot of them are very much just like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. So we've already gone through the two very fast-paced corners, the sort of very, very fast flat-out chicane, into this is turn 3, but the first proper corner. Going through the Casio corners, as I'm calling it at least. There's two Casio boards here. Now we're going through this section here. It's very, very fast into almost like a castle-y area. This sort of like very large. Well, my brain says castle because the high sort of cobble walls. My brain thinks castle. It's not really a castle. And you can just really see coming through here, it's really a balance of the cars. You know, these are already very small cars. You can see how narrow this section is. And we're doing this probably like 4 times the speed limit in real life through here. It's probably like 40 to 60 k's in real life. And we're doing 160. Especially in sections like this little section here where you sort of going very fast, car gets light, catch a little bit of oversteer there from our driver here, Kaito Yamaha. Going through the first of the 2 hairpins. Now, rule for this race, this hairpin coming up, this one here, this right-hander, this is a no overtaking zone. This is no overtakes allowed. If we see someone overtaking here, they are very unlikely to finish the race in the same position. Yeah, they're very likely to get a penalty afterwards, unless there is obviously a crash or something. However, we've got through the technical part of the circuit. We're now through the first of the last two corners. Both the last two corners sort of deceptively tricky right-handers. That's the first one. This one here as well. You need to go fast enough for the aerodynamics to do the work for you and get the car turned in. But if you don't go fast enough, you're going to go into the wall. And likewise, if you go too slow, likewise, if you go too fast, you're going to go into the wall as well. So, very tricky corner, deceptively tricky. Let's jump on to Yamaha's teammate, Yuki Suzuki. Follow him going through here. You can see even despite all of his ballast and weight, admittedly a little bit less than last week, he's still got quite a good pace through here. He's doing a very good job. I'm going to jump back off board. And just have a little look at the timing tower so we can see very much 6 drivers we can expect to be battling out for pole position. That being Kiepski, Questa, Yamaha, Rutherford, Suzuki and Kawamoto. All of which drivers in the top 10 of the championship. Yamaha obviously hoping to kind of make a bit of a comeback after his unfortunate car failure last week, his engine giving out on him, unfortunately. So he's looking to do a little bit better here. He's not been quite as quick as some of the other drivers. We have seen in previous practice sessions, Rutherford managed a 2-minute 20, which is a phenomenally quick time, but as you can tell, nobody's managed to recreate a 2-minute 20 so far. So, consistency here, very difficult. You can see Frankfurter now having joined the grid. See if he's out on track. There he is, being followed around by I believe that's Kiepski behind him. Following very, very tightly. These two had a great battle last round. As did quite a few people at Piscani. Most of the top 10 really having a very fun little battle. You can see Frankfurt again a little bit loose there into the wall. Kind of had to make Kiepski back off a little bit, looks like. So he's going to be desperately looking to see if he can maybe make a move through before the hairpin. It's not going to happen though. So it looks like instead opting to maybe tuck behind. As we can see, we got a great camera angle going to the hairpin. We can really just see how tricky it is to follow through here without making contact at the rear. We see Kiepski almost going into the back of Frankfurter there. And here's where it gets interesting. So hopefully they still show it off quite well. I don't know, we'll see what the aero wings are. So different drivers have opted for different setups, as much as always. But some drivers are taking so much aero off of their car. I happen to know that Isidor Kiepski is running very, very little aerodynamical force on his car. That means he can carry that overspeed, make this a too wide through here. Now, this isn't necessarily a place you want to go too wide, so you can see Frankfurter's backed out. He's almost pushing the rear through the corner of Isidor Kiepski. But that little slipstream behind has then put him back equal pretty much with Kiepski. A little, just tiny catch on the wall. Locally doesn't cause anything too bad. But it does put him out of the chance of keeping that too wide a little bit, that little loss of speed. So that's your main overtaking zone, really. The main safe overtaking zone. Now, that's not to say the only one. There are plenty of places people could accidentally run into each other going around this circuit. We'll keep for now on board with Kiepski. It seems to be the only battle, so to speak, on track. Furter doing a very good job of keeping up with him, though. Slight taps on the wall of the tyres, but nothing too drastic. Nice little slide there as well from Frankfurter. Of course, don't worry. Once practice over, we will go through the current championship standings for anyone that wants to be caught up on that. Kiepski, after last round, has actually shot forwards quite high up in the standings, which is, again, it's going to be very useful for the Vulcan team of Kiepski and Rutherford, sat first and fourth at the minute, highest of any of the teams. Yamaha and Suzuki not far behind in third and sixth, so very much still scoring competitively for the Toyota team. Stevie Questa and her teammate Frankfurter, obviously Furted a little bit lower down at the minute, but he's not really had a chance at clean air just yet. He's been kind of being harassed by Kiepski, who has set the first 2-minute 20 just barely, a 2:20.99. So really, about as late as you can get while still calling it a 2-minute 20. However, he has done it. He's the only person to do it this session. Now, it's going to be interesting in qualifying, because there's going to be a lot of drivers who push too hard and pay the price. Now, we do have a driver who is currently on a qualifying ban/pit lane start for race 1, that being Ching Ning. However, all the other drivers will be partaking in qualifying. We can see almost the whole grid into the 2-minute 20s. And even then, between first and 10th, only about 2 seconds, which across a 2-minute 20 lap time is nothing to be sniffed at, especially in these cars. It's nice to see a good range of cars in there as well. We've got, I believe, 3 different engines. Ooh, big hit into the wall from Kiepski there. Got 3 different engines in the top 3, so it's something you always like to see. Look a little bit further. We've got the fastest Volvo is in 5th of Strugel Brzkowicz. Cavalli also running the Volvo engine, as is Ruiz Ferrari. And we're just going to take a very short break now while I deliver the driver's briefing. Just double check everybody is fine and understands the rules of this race. We'll be back very, very shortly. And we are back. Had a small minor hiccup on the server. But other than that, unfortunately, do not have any hot lap for you this round. But we did show it earlier. However, we can talk about the standings. So Yuki Suzuki leads in first place, 77 points. Dario Kawamoto and Steffi Quest are tied on 60. Remember, this is with drop rounds in effect, but Dario just edging it out on the tiebreak. Isidore Kiepski following right behind in fourth, the lead of the two Vulcans, followed very closely behind by Rutherford on 54 points. That puts their team in sort of the best position out of all of them, I believe, in the Teams Championship. Gerardo Lanigan, after his win last week, is right behind Rutherford on 53. Again, very, very good win for him last week in race 1 of Piscani. And fingers crossed we'll see some more continued success for Lanigan. Frankfurter again had some very... He's not really been the podium visitor too often this season. He's actually been on the podium only at Piscani's second race, where he also took his first win. On 51 points though, he's continuously scoring really well, and that might just pay off later in the season as people make more mistakes. Especially after this round, he's looking pretty healthy. Even if he has a crash. Kaito Yamaha on 49 points. Again, as we discussed, the electronic failure on the parts of the engine fortunately put him out. But he's looking to do pretty well here. He's definitely on the pace. I expect to see him near the front if he doesn't have an incident. Same with all these drivers. Stribok Piskaric on 33 points, a bit behind the top 8, but by no means out of it. Especially if you can have some strong rounds. Had some really bad luck at Piscani and Imola, so he's hoping to recover that. And Randy Nutt rounds out our top 10, who is not in attendance this race, so we might see, potentially, a new driver taking his position in the top 10. Could see Alan Carvalho. Be a big jump for him. It'll be 22 points. 12 points to find, I believe. Or Gordon Moulton, who's just 11 points. So both of those two could make their way into the top 10 this round. As for team standings, it is currently led by Basler Motorsports. That being the green car driven by Steffi Quester and Frankfurter. Followed very, very close behind, 3 points behind, is the Toyota, so that's Yuki Suzuki and Kaito Yamaha. And Vulcan Racing on 144 points, so 9 points separating the front 3 teams in the Teams Championship. Vulcan Racing being the red and black Coca-Cola sponsored cars. Coca-Cola and Canon, the 2 primary sponsors on it. And again, bit of a drop off behind for the rest of the teams. But yeah, very, very exciting little championship as we've returned after our break week. Our triple header to finish out the season is Macau, Oran Park and Nürburgring. Macau, of course, the round today. Oran Park next week, and Nürburgring is the final round, headed to Germany. Now that is Nürburgring, the short circuit, the GP circuit, not the Nordschleife. So unfortunately we will not get to see these cars take air, not intentionally, or not by the track design anyway, let's call it. Let's go back to the splash screen for a little bit. Still just waiting for laps to be set in qualifying. Not too many left, but if I go on the live timing, I can see it looks like out of the times that have been set so far, Emma Rutherford took pole with a 21.1. Daigo Kawamoto in second with a 21.4. Followed closely behind by Steffi Cuesta, a 21.44. Isidore Kiepski on a 21.6, not quite managing to recreate his fast lap. Jordan Lanigan 22.03 in 5th. Triple Piskaric 22.5, so not far off. Alan Carvalho right behind on a 22.6 in 7th. Frankfurter, a 2... My apologies, I've been reading the potential lap. It's not too far off for most of these drivers, actually. No, that is actually correct for almost all these drivers. Frankfurter, unfortunately, a 2.23, so he must have just bottled that final sector. Nina Sweeney, getting a 24.1. And 10th, Gordon Moulton with a 2.24.3. Porter is Ferrari 11th. Yuki Suzuki, unfortunately, a really bad qualifying actually from both the Toyotas. Yuki Suzuki of 2.26, Kaito Yamaha a 2.32. So he's very much starting right at the back of the grid, which could be quite dangerous potentially if he's a bit too aggressive pushing forwards in the early laps. As we're just waiting for everyone's qualifying times to finish. I believe we have one more car that was coming through the final corner, but it looks like they've unfortunately made a mistake in the final corner. I believe that is qualifying finished. So yeah, it's been definitely a mixed bag of qualifying. But yeah, 4 drivers in the 21s, 3 drivers in the 22s, and a driver in the 23s. So that top 8 is still within 2 seconds all of each other. 9th and 10th just a second behind, so very much going to be interesting as we head into this race. And we will see. Hopefully, okay. Not too far away now from the race. Again, we are just waiting for the qualifying time to end. We're 90 seconds out from grid up. We'll head across to the scene. Again, obviously, no one out yet. Everyone in the pit lane waiting for the race start procedure. You can see the times potentially if I do this. There we go. So as we can see, Rutherford, Kawamoto, Cuesta Kiepski, Giroid Piskaric, Lanigan Piskaric, Carvalho Furter, Sweeney Moulton, Ruiz Ferrari Suzuki, Colombo Silney, Hajek, Yamaha, Spiker Schmigelski Jr., Ning on the final row by himself. We'll remove that heads-up display. And yeah, we will see how it goes for the drivers. Just going to make sure the teleport has happened. Very good. Apologies if there's a few screen flashes over the next few seconds. Just trying to quickly find the correct camera set. I believe this is the correct one. Here we are. we've lost the overlay, which is frustrating. We'll just quickly fix that. Lights are up. Here we go. I've fixed the overlay. Lights are up, and we are green. Lights out. Rutherford gets a decent start. Let's get that track map back up. See, 3 wide from the cars behind. We've got very much everyone's coming for position. Questa moving to the outside, looking to take that early lead potentially here. So we go 3 wide through the corner, and it's been a horrific accident. Multiple cars out already. That is already looking like a race restart, unfortunately. Yeah, massive pile-up before turn 1, unfortunately. We will be taking the race restart. Huge, huge crash. So yes, unfortunately, we'll be taking the restart. Lots of cars involved in that, but hopefully no more. There we go, we can hear all the cars revving up now, ready to go again. We'll watch from this angle this time, much better angle. You can see all the lights on, and we are green. Oh dear, some very bad teleporting for someone there. Hopefully that settles itself down. Here we go, much, much more settled start this time. You can see Ning coming out of the pit lane. We've got people battling back and forth. Hopefully people being a bit more sensible this time. Looks like we made it through the corner without a crash this time. I think the turn 1 definitely better than what we had before. As we go into turn 3, the first proper braking zone. 2 wide in some cases. Looks like Rutherford's just managed to beat out the other driver. We have got a small crash near the back. Looks like quite a big pile-up, but we are going to keep going. Somehow the Cadillac managing to get flipped over. Not gone well for them. Unfortunately, that is going to be Hajek in the pits, already and out of the race. So we follow the rest of the grid. That has presented a rather large gap, but as I said, we are going to keep going. Unless there is a major track blockage. You can see everyone following through. This has honestly been quite good for the top 8 in a way, excepting Furter and some of the other drivers. Oh, big hit in the wall from Moulton behind. Looks like he's managed to get away with it just barely. So we see just behind Ning into the wall, Colombo into the wall. Everyone's into this wall, it seems, today. Lots of contact. If we have a look at the hairpin for the first time, looks like everyone has made it through okay so far. We'll just keep on this section. See Yamaha behind Moulton. He's managed to catch back up to the drivers ahead. Shmigelski following not too far behind. Bruce Ferrari follows Spiker. Colombo tailing not too far behind. Yuki Suzuki looking to make the pass on Carvalho up into 5th, but Carvalho manages to hang it around the outside just barely. Really good driving there from Carvalho. Not the easiest corner in the world to hold around the outside. Takes an awful lot of, let's say, nerves of steel to hold that. So very good job from him. He's actually managed to pull back alongside, going through into turn 2. Now, I'm going to jump forwards because speaking of going alongside, we've got 2 wide here between Questa and Kiepski. Going into turn 3, looks like Questa is holding the inside, a little bit contact, but that's unfortunately maybe meant they've had to yield just that position to Kiepski. Really unfortunate there for them. But hopefully Questa, she can make a bit more of a move forwards. Very much one of the other drivers, very quick all throughout practice, so we're expecting her to finish on the grid, on the podium at the very least. Valio right on the back of Yuki Suzuki, very much a sort of almost unexpected front runner this week. That Leighton House, well, it's been sort of relatively quick. It's not been able to produce good results, but 6th could be a really good strong points finish for the team. If they can hold on to it, and it looks like maybe even push forwards a little bit. You can see Suzuki sort of almost battling forwards and backwards. He's got Pushkaric ahead, who is doing a great job of holding on to that 4th. Managing it pretty well as Cavallo gets a nice little slide there behind. But yeah, he's holding on to it pretty well. It's a Toyota sandwich between 2 Volvo engines, and I mean, while the 2 teams very much, well, the 3 teams all battling each other, there might be a little bit of, you know, Volvo helping Volvo. You never know. Speaking of, there's the other Benetton, the yellow and green car, just following behind. We've got Daigo Kawamoto hot on his tail as well, of Silney, who was absent last time out. And we'll just maybe have a look and see, can Cavallo manage something around the outside of this corner again, or is he going to stick it safe, play it safe, wait for the next straight? We will see. Rutherford already pulling out 2nd on Kiepski, and Kiepski pulling out 2nd on, sorry, 2 seconds on Questa. Very much what the Vulcan team wants to see, a 1-2 finish. Would be the first 1-2 finish, I believe, since round 1. Got all sorts of people all over the back of each other. Got Cavallo all over the back of Suzuki. Desperately looking for a way. He's decided to go outside, which is definitely interesting. But I don't think he's going to be able to do anything with it, really. Suzuki kind of covering it off just in case. Kind of giving that room just in case he gets the run, but pulling back in just in time. We'll jump back the grid a little bit because we can see further back down we've got Leighton House, the other Leighton House, definitely not having quite as good a time. Hold on for Jan Spiker, the other Ackley Grand Prix car. It looks like that Ackley's maybe just going to have the top speed, but he's unfortunately just missed the corner, and that's really going to cost him, unfortunately. He's just broke a little bit too late. Let's jump back forward. Speaking of the Ackley Grand Prix, we've got Gordon Moulton holding on to a 10th place after qualifying 10th. He's managed to hold on to it despite everything. He's doing a great job so far of doing that. I'm going to jump forwards a little bit actually, because it looks like this battle with Stribog, Puskaric involved might be heating up a little bit. These 3 getting closer and closer. I believe last time we looked, it was over half a second. Now it's less than half a second between all of them. A second separating the 3 cars. And we'll get a great visual representation of that. And also just how much this this hairpin here, we're going to get a great view of how much this is going to push drivers away from each other. So we're getting a very nice turn through there and just able to pull about 2/10 on Suzuki. Really, really nice taking, really nice attempt at taking the corner. That Benetton looking just beautiful through those corners in a way that some of the other cars maybe not quite so much. Meanwhile, Furter making his move up after a maybe not so great start, managing to make his way back up to 8th. Doing a good job there. Likewise, Yamaha, who we kind of expected a lot higher up the grid, has managed to pull himself up into 10th. I'm sure we'll see him go even further forward as the race progresses. 4 seconds to the car ahead. I believe, so 5 seconds to the car ahead. We can see, you know, he's got 2 seconds a lap on Silney this lap. That being said, He does have to worry about Moulton behind, who is by no means sluggish around here. You can see it's quite a big gap at the rear end of the fields, people just driving their own races, which is kind of what we expect at Macau. But that cannot be said for Piscaric, Suzuki and Cavallio, who I believe will be the battle we'll be mostly focusing on. So we head into lap 4, we're about sort of a third of the way through it for these guys. First and second very much taking off. The Vulcans very much controlling the race so far, but in this sort of battle for just after the podium, it could be anyone's game. Any one of these three drivers could finish 4th. And honestly, if it goes wrong, even Daigo, Kawamoto and Frankfurter behind could end up joining in this little melee. You can see, if we compare the last few laps, we can see Suzuki has generally been quicker on average, but of course we've only got 3 laps of data so far. So it's mainly important to notice lap 2 and 3, he's been about 3/10 of a second faster. However, he's not being able to do anything with it, and that is the problem that he's facing. You can see through that hairpin, he's just not getting the same turn as Piscaric. Unfortunately, that just means that he's spending yet another lap behind, unless he can make something stick. Now, is this the lap where we're going to see Suzuki go for something? Suzuki, of course, absolutely would not be offended by a 5th place result. Very good finish for the Japanese driver, but would be his lowest of the season so far, I believe. I could be wrong on that. I'll just fact check myself super quickly as we head onto the straight. Yuki Suzuki, yes, lowest finishes in 4th place, so I'm sure we'd like to keep that streak going if possible. But he's just not pulling. He's half a second, and it's staying half a second down this entire straight. He's just not really able to make anything out of it. He's gained maybe a half a tenth. That is not enough to make a move. You got to be within at least 2/10 to even consider something going to turn 3, as we've just passed through there. Now, speaking of drivers within only a few tenths, this will be interesting. We've got Jan Spiker, and Jean-Pierre Michael Schmigelski Jr. Now, both these drivers on the sort of lower end of the grid. However, both of them not the most attended, so they've not had the most time in the car. And it's been really interesting for both these drivers, sort of a trial by fire, really. This only being the 2nd round in attendance for Schmigelski Jr. And Spiker. Spiker very much the rookie between the two drivers, but he's doing a great job holding it together. Schmigelski maybe just has that extra confidence though. He might be able to just use that to kind of spook Spiker into making a mistake. There's just that constant pressure he might not be able to withstand. Speaking of constant pressure, this is the closest that Suzuki's ever been, but because he can't make a pass through the Melco hairpin, this hairpin here, he is going to have to sit behind for another lap, so he's going to probably be trying as hard as he can to carry that speed, and it's really cost him there as he bonks the wall a little bit, hits that wall, and he's back down to 6/10. And, I don't know if you all noticed, Mr. Kawamoto has joined the fray for 4th place. So this is now a 4-way battle. Frankfurt doesn't really manage to close the gap quite the same. He's been averaging 2:23s, while Piscaric last lap was a 2:23, but you know, the cars behind managing just that little bit extra. So it's definitely a race of survival for the Benetton driver right now. Suzuki seems to have got a much better run this time though. This could be what breaks the mould. Somehow he's just managed to have that bit of extra confidence. We're going to see going down the main straight, probably too wide at some point. Now Suzuki's going to want to time this just about right, because he doesn't want to time this at a point where it's going to cost him too much, where Piscaric can potentially make a move back on him, which is going to happen potentially. No? Looks like Suzuki's managed to defend the position okay. Maybe a little bit late on the brakes, but it looks like he's made it stick. And that is Suzuki up into 4th. He's going to be looking to just race away now, pull away as quickly as possible. Thank you, goodbye. And it looks like he's doing a good job of that. Speaking of battles, looks like Yamaha's just making his move up on Silney and or defending against Silney. Desperately trying to make his moves forward as well in the field. Now it's unlikely that he's going to catch anyone ahead of him. Might be 9th place, might be the best that he can manage this race. However, still a very respectable race finish if he can hold on to it. That being said, we're going to jump backwards a little bit because we now see Puskaric now. Suzuki already a second clear. Puskaric now once again facing rearwards. Eyes facing rearwards more than forwards. Worrying about how can I keep Carvalho behind? How can I kind of dump him into Kawamoto? And make this the widest Benetton possible. It looks like it's hit the wall there, unfortunately. And that's actually going to remove all of the play there. Goes for a move up the inside of the hairpin. This is going to be interesting. They're now too wide going into the hairpin, but Puskaric was ahead, so that's actually going to keep him in position. Very, very smart play there from Puskaric. He knows the no overtaking rule, but if he's ahead going to the corner, the other car has to yield. Very, very good little smart play there. That's going to help him maintain 5th just that lap longer. Now Carvalho has to look behind him for Kawamoto for this main straight. Speaking of Carvalho getting super loose there. Extremely loose. But it seems like he's managed to keep it on the road. Looks like, unfortunately, at some point, must have missed it, Gerard Lanigan in the pit lane, out of the race. That is going to be one of his 2 drop rounds eating up that. Devastating for the driver after his win last time out. Unfortunately, unaware of what quite happened. So we follow down the main straight. Looks like Daigo has managed to make it past Carvalho. And quite comfortably so, it seems. And that has slightly settled down this little battle. It's by no means over. We could see Carvalho come back at Daigo. That being said, I'm very curious about the difference between Daigo and Puskaric. We can see about 2nd a lap, almost 2 seconds last lap. Puskaric slower than Daigo. So Puskaric has done, honestly, an honourable job defending that position as long as he has. Managing to hold on for ages, really. And we can really just sort of see, you know, how technical and challenging this circuit is. Maybe a little bit loose there from Puskaric. He's definitely been hassled a lot this race. Maybe taking a little bit of damage throughout his sort of battles. And that's definitely seems to affect the balance of the car. He is going to be safe through the Melco. However, after the Melco, we might see Daigo's Toyota just managing to make up that difference. Oh, Stribog into the wall, it looks like. That's going to let Daigo through. It's going to let Carvalho through as well. Oh, truly unfortunate for the Croatian driver, Stribog. And he's unfortunately lost the rear as well. He's spun out into the second to last corner. That's going to cost him yet more positions. It's going to let Frankfurter catch back up. Really, really unfortunate there. You can see Steffi Quester actually taking the fastest lap. Going into the second to last lap. Now, unfortunately, we haven't had much time to spend with the other drivers. Up at the front, it's been relatively consistent through there, but this is the battle to watch. Daigo and Carvalho. We might see Carvalho maybe make some moves. He has been a second slower generally, but we've got to remember he's been stuck behind the car ahead. Who was Stribog Puskaric. He's now following Daigo, who's a little bit quicker. Seems to have a little bit of confidence. This might be a chance for Carvalho to unleash his own pace. This final lap, just sort of unbottle it a little bit. See if you can make something up out of it. As I said, we are on the final lap of this race. It looks like Daigo is managing to pull out that gap quite nicely, 1.5 seconds. This is going to be probably a pretty confident 5th place finish, it looks like. Unless he makes any mistakes, but it looks like the Japanese Lotus driver, keep it nice and controlled through this sector. Nicely over the little ramp section here. And into the slow right-hander, 90-degree right. Again, nice and controlled. And that looks like that is going to be race pretty much decided for 5th. Speaking of race decided, let's get this beautiful 1-2 of the two Vulcans as they cross the line. Looks like this will be the end of the race for these two. Very nice Vulcan 1-2, first of the season for the team, and a win for Emma Rutherford. Her second of the season, she took one at Imola race 2, so she'll be very happy taking that this race. Kiepski second, Quest third. A little bit behind Yuki Suzuki, maintaining his no worse than 4th streak. He'll be starting 6th next race. Kawamoto takes 5th. And we're going to jump back a little bit because it looks like maybe Yamaha might be able to do something. If he can carry a lot of confidence this final corner, he can maybe just make something across the line. We'll see. Start-finish line's very early on this circuit. Looks like he's not quite going to make something go. That is unfortunate. Really close for 8th place for the other Toyota driver. But again, very good comeback from poor qualifying session for him. Certainly comes past him 10th. Moulton 11th. Ning, after a pit lane start, in 12th. Bruce Ferrari in 13th. Sweeney in 14th, the other gold leaf. Jean-Pierre Schmigelski just come around past the last 2 corners now. So we see him coming through the second last corner there. And the final driver to finish the race. Looks like unfortunately maybe had a little bit of an incident unfortunately for Jan Spijker in 16th. So we will see what happens with race 2. You can see various drivers doing a nice little cool down lap, as we can see. Yuki Suzuki in his Toyota. And there we go. That is race 1 complete. Now hopefully race 2 people will hopefully be a bit more sensible. Was unfortunate, the big crash at the start. It seems that we have had a retirement. Obviously it looks like the Cadillac unfortunately unable to be fixed for Lucy Hajek. Yet another bad result for the driver. But hopefully we'll see them back in some facility at a future round. Yeah, you can really see that sort of gap. Very, very close between certain drivers. It really just kind of shows how close each driver sort of was to each other. Also interesting to note, Kiepski on the soft tyres out of the 2 Vulcans. So it seemed like softs and mediums both viable depending on your strategy and your driving style. So he's doing a great job demonstrating or backing up his Vulcan teammate Rutherford. That'll be very, very strong points. Almost the maximum amount of points from race 1. In fact, the maximum amount of points from race 1 for the team. Now, Silney will now be starting on pole, which is going to be quite nerve-wracking potentially for the driver. I believe all the top 10 have all been capable at least of 225s, 224s, 223s. But obviously, as we know, Rutherford, Kiepski, Cuesta all ran a 21 last last race. So they've got 8 laps to try and use their sort of 2-second advantage, try and carve their way through the field safely without getting involved in anything. We'll see. All the lights up. And we are green for race 2, reverse grid. Certainly leads the grid away, followed by Yamaha. Yamaha in a very good position this race to make something out of his stronger starting position and hopefully take home a good, potentially a win for Toyota. It would be his first for the team. So he's looking forwards. Everyone's looking forward right now. Desperately trying to make up the positions on this manic start without ending up in a wall. Speaking of nearly in a wall, we see just behind, we see a little bit of touching. You can see there is actually already 2 cars out. Spiker and Colombo. Looks like everyone else has continued though. 3 wide into turn 1. Into turn 3, sorry. We've kept going just about. We are going to keep the race going. Everyone's just about kept it safe. Very much has jostled the order about a little bit. So we follow the sort of middle of the field. Desperately trying to catch all of the action that's happening, but it's so close. Everyone's already, as I say, jostling for position. It's definitely going to be unfortunate for the 2 drivers involved in that accident near the start of Spiker and Colombo. But they've got to now live with that consequence for 8 laps and think about whether or not they were at fault for it. We come through into the hairpin the first time. Yamaha pulling away nice and confidently from Silney. Piskaric backing up his teammate in the Benetton. Benetton 2-3 at the minute. The other Toyota though following in 4th. Piskaric maybe just overcooking a little bit into that corner. But he's only got to wait a little bit longer until he's got that hairpin coming up. Just needs to hold them off a little bit longer. And we've survived the first lap. We're going to have a lot of cars backed up here going through the hairpin. Yamaha making a mistake, crashing into the hairpin. We've got a lot of concertina effect going on, but everyone managing to keep it nice and safe. Looks like it's been pretty safe through there. I see all of those cars making it through. Very good. Gerardo Lanigan managing to recover from his DNF very well, already up into 12th. Expect to see him move even further forwards. Yamaha now, nice 2-second gap on the rest of the field. He just needs to keep it safe, and he can potentially have a podium here. Maybe in a race win, depending how much the Benettons do an unintentional rear gunner job for him. Speaking of, Suzuki already up into 3rd. Yamaha sort of hoping that Suzuki can make it forward before anyone else to him. As again, that rear gunner position would be much better if it was someone on his side than someone potentially catching. You can see Daigo dodging this way and that. Steffi Cuesta goes on the inside, deep inside, with 4 wide going into turn 3. This is not going to end well. Cuesta making the sensible decision to back out and opt to instead make the most out of future battles. Still 2 wide, Daigo nearly catching Yuki Suzuki's rear end. You can see very close train through here. Very stressful for all drivers involved, as I'm sure our viewers can imagine. This circuit is by no means easy. It's genuinely terrifying. Making a pass is not easy. We've got Frankfurt. We've got a little crash there from Finney and Sweeney there. You hopefully just caught that on the camera. That is going to back everyone up. It looks like Geroid has managed to make his pass through. Frankfurter has disconnected from the server, from the session. It does seem like he's either had an internet issue or he's had such a bad accident that he's just immediately quit and backed out and kept the car off the circuit. That is unfortunate. Not quite sure what's happened. As we see Stribog making once again one of those mistakes he made in the first race that just cost him position. It's happened again. He's let Suzuki through. Suzuki now, eyes straight forwards. He knows that he's dispatched Bushkaric. He doesn't need to worry about him through here. He knows that he's the quicker driver. In general, he just needs eyes forward. He knows he's got that higher top speed as well. So he's pretty happy now. He's just eyes forward. Can he get Silney and can he get up to Yamaha and make this a strong 1-2 for Toyota to respond to Vulcan's 1-2 from race 1? See, nice and close. Again, we look a little bit further back in the grid. Lots of bonks on the wall. You can see Geroid up into 10th already. Back into the top 10. Really good for the Irish driver. That unmistakable cannot miss it pink car. Always a joy to see on our screens. It's going too wide through this straight. We can see Stribog desperately trying to hold off Kawamoto. Now this is potentially looking like a disaster right here. Daigo massively offline. He's had to cut back across a little bit. A car into the wall. And unfortunately that is Stribog out of the race. Hopefully no one else being caught by it. Looks like everyone survived. Just about. Quest are very lucky to not get too much damage from that, it looks like. Just about surviving that horrendous accident from Stribog just carrying a bit too much speed, hitting the wall. That's cost him his race. Back down into 11th. He's going to be looking forwards now and on his own recovery drive. Geroid up into 8th out of all of this. Again, maybe even more positions forward for the Irishman. A very good recovery drive indeed from a DNF in round 1, in race 1. This train, I do believe, is what we're going to be focused on for the rest of this race. This 6-car train for 3rd. Both of the Toyotas very much pulling away now. Suzuki a second clear of Silney. Meanwhile, we've got a very reactive move under braking, it looked like, from the Lotus. It's difficult from the camera angles. I'm sure it wasn't actually that reactive. The Basler desperately looking for a way forward. Because the Quester knows those two Vulcans behind, they were on the pace to win race 1 and 2. Both of them could have won it, but you're not going to battle your teammate that hard, are you? And she knows even more desperately they're directly in battle for the championship. So we come through, we can see Yamaha there, followed by Suzuki, followed by Daigo and Silney. Silney taking a line that's making everyone else compress quite harshly there. Which has definitely not been the best for everybody else's time, but it's definitely helped him keep people behind just that little bit longer. Looks like Quester looking for that move on Daigo. Maybe looking into the final corner, which would be interesting, but we will see. Kaito Yamaha sets another fastest lap for himself, 2:22.3. That clean air is going to be very useful for him right now. 5 seconds clear. Very much doubt that he's going to have too much hassle. Meanwhile, this 5-car pack for 3rd pretty much. We're expecting more accidents as we go through here. Quester sending it up on the inside. Very late move there. We're now 3 wide. Looks like Kiepski's managed to actually clear his own move on the driver, but he's then gone wide into the wall, and that's pushed Kiepski all the way down to 7th. He's completely out of it. Geroid Lanigan getting a little bit loose, trying to avoid the Vulcan that is now directly ahead of him. And he's now thinking, can I make another position forward into 7th? Truly intense racing here at Macau. Despite the difficulty of the circuit, we're still managing to find lots of on-tracker excitement as they follow each other through a very tricky street circuit. We are, however, unfortunately, probably going to jump back forwards now to Silney, who is holding off Rutherford. Again, Rutherford much quicker previously in the first race, taking that win in the first race. And you can see she's all over the back of Silney, desperately looking for a way past before the hairpin if possible, to really get that clearance and get that run going and try and catch up to Quester. It's very tricky to drive at Macau. You've got to balance out your frustration and just really sort of drive your own race. But you also have to remember that this hairpin kind of resets any gains that you make. Doesn't matter how quick you are, if you can't get the move done by this hairpin, it kind of adds a half a second buffer. unless you absolutely nail it. That being said, looks like Geroyd's gone a little bit wider than Kiepski. That's like Kiepski a little bit more freedom after his accident. However, we now have Rutherford catching Silney, and I think Rutherford's running a little bit of a lower aero package, so she might be able to catch and make the pass. We will see, as we're on this straight, whether or not she makes any moves, forwards or backwards. Yamaha putting in another fastest lap at 2:22.2. I'm expecting Suzuki to reply in kind of 2:22.2 as well. Kawamoto actually making a Japanese 1-2-3 for this race so far, posting a 2:21.8 himself, the first 2:21 of this race. Surely some incredible scenes of racing here. Questa looking to disrupt that triple Japanese podium if possible. Questa once again spent a lot of the season very close to the podiums, if not on it. One of the more consistent drivers on the grid. Not a race win to her name yet, but I imagine we will see it before long, with the way that she's kept this season's performance going. The drop round's almost hurting her a little bit with her consistency, because she's not outright scored the most points when you consider drop rounds. That does harm her. Looks like Silney's unfortunately just got a little bit loose out of the corner. That's allowed Emma Rutherford through. Now having to keep Kiepski behind. Oh no, Kiepski's got through as well, it looks like, actually. My bad. So Kiepski managing a little bit of a recovery drive. 5-6, not bad for the Vulcans, but they definitely want to be heading further forward if they can. Rutherford got 3 seconds to catch to the cars ahead. She does have full clean air to do it. Kiepski knows he's faster than Silney. You can just see how much he's been messed over by being in that dirty air. We know that last race he was hitting that sort of 2:22 mark, 2:21 mark. 2:26, the fastest he managed to do so far in 4 laps of racing. So we see the drivers heading into the hairpin. The two Vulcans, Geroyd making a nice little catch up there on the Benetton, it looks like. Drivers behind, we've got Śmigelski, followed by Sweeney, followed by Stribog. Looks like Sweeney just ahead of him, catching himself on that little barricade. That might just let Stribog through. Stribog back up into 10th. That being said, his engine's not as powerful as the Toyota-powered Gold Leaf behind him of Sweeney. We're going to see whether or not that's enough for Puskaric to hold on to 10th this lap. We will see. Going to jump a little bit forwards because we can see O'Lanigan looking for his move forwards again into 7th after a DNF last race. Once again, great little recovery drive from the Superflow driver. While it's not quite the same as first, he'll still very much take it. That being said, Puskaric pulls onto the inside, looking for his move into turn 3, sorry, the first proper turn though. Geroyd has given him the room, but Puskaric has just lost the rear end. That's just cost him the move. Now Geroyd can just focus, look forwards, and just kind of hang on for this lap, build up that gap, and just kind of drive in clean air for the first time in a little while for himself. 3 seconds of dirty air, of clean air. Nice little slide from him there as well for the camera. Jump to Sweeney, who's very much all over the tail of Puskaric. Looking potentially 2 positions up for grabs here. Śmigelski Jr. he was slower in race 1 than these two, but by no means was that necessarily entirely driver related. I believe he was heavily involved in accidents throughout that race, which maybe was part of the problem. Here we go, Śmigelski Jr. here. You can see he's managing to pull away that little bit. Just go quickly have a look at the hairpin. As we see them all come into it. We see these 3 now entering, Geroyd followed closely by Silney, then Śmigelski, Puskaric, Sweeney. And and quite a large gap to the next car. It seems like all the gaps have sort of neutralised a little bit. That being said, Silney making his pass on O'Lanigan, on maybe a slightly poor first right-hander from the Irishman, but I'm sure he's going to make that move straight back here again. Now, interesting thing, that start-finish line being here, Geroid needs to be ahead when they cross there in 2 laps' time, otherwise he's going to take 8th, not 7th. You see the two going side by side, down the main straight, coming into turn 2, this very fast kink, looks like Silney's tucked in behind. And he's going to be trying to make the most out of this. He's got the overspeed, he's got the slipstream, he just needs to nail his braking zone. And this is going to be perfect for Silney, for the Benetton. It looks like he's just backed out a little bit too much. Which maybe not perfect line. Maybe Lanigan just beat him on the brakes. But that's going to be another lap for Lanigan ahead. Speaking of, let's go on board with the Irishman. Get an idea of what it's like to be on going through this circuit. You can see the cars sliding all over the place. You can see he's actually currently on pace for his matching his best so far this lap. You can see that little digital dash display telling him his speed, his current lap time, and how far it is off his best lap time this race. So he's doing a great little job keeping this going. And that being said, let's maybe just have a look at Silney's view of this. Same cockpit, but a completely different sound. That glorious inline 5 roar almost. Great, great sound to listen to. Almost deafeningly loud. The Volvo engineers, though, definitely knew what they were doing building this thing. Despite being down on power, you wouldn't think it. Come into this little hairpin now. The drivers are aiming for that bus stop. Little sort of ground marking. That's their aim. If they manage to break there, pretty good corner, you can see. Not quite as good from Silney. But Lanigan's managed to pull out a huge, huge gap now. So maybe Silney's sort of resigned himself to 8th. Maybe we'll see him catch up a little bit more. But either way, only 1 lap to do it. As Kiepski takes fastest lap, a 2:21.6. Probably not enough time for anything to happen. Gap's a little bit too big for the drivers ahead. That being said, Puskaric and Sweeney continue their bout. Very, very close between the drivers. Looks like Sweeney's just not quite got the power. Whether it's aero damage or whether he's just opted for higher aero and more downforce than the other driver. Either way, it seems like he's not going to get a move done necessarily. That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to stop him trying though, driving right behind Puskaric, really forcing him to the inside of the circuit, trying to sort of keep him there, but hasn't put Puskaric off enough. He manages to hold on to the position going through turn 3. Turn 4, once again, nice and close, but not really any overtaking spots for the next little while, so Sweeney's going to be looking for any mistake. He's going to keep that pressure on, he's going to be following as close as he can. Any mistake made by Puskaric now will cost him that 9th position, potentially worse. Carvalho just 2 seconds behind. Little bit of a slide there as well we just caught from Schmigelski Jr. in the Opel. Very cinematic. As we go through this final sector, you can see all the cars really, really loose in this late stage of the race. All the tyres very worn down after 8 laps of really abuse through the streets of Macau. As much as I'd love to jump to the race winners, this battle is absolutely nowhere near done. All it takes is one small mistake from Puskaric, and that is it. That being said, it looks like it might be over for Sweeney. It might just be 10th place. We will see. It all comes down to this hairpin. It looks like Puskaric is taking it nice and easy, and yeah, it looks pretty confirmed. So Yamaha takes his first win of the season. Very, very happy about that. Followed by Suzuki, making it Toyota 1-2. Kawamoto takes third. Questa takes fastest lap and fourth. Unfortunately, no fastest lap point. And Rutherford fifth. I'm going to jump backwards though, because it looks like maybe Sweeney, although he might not be able to do anything now, he might have to worry about Carvalho if he messes up this final corner, but no, looks like he's okay. Just about kept it going. So that is going to round out your top 10. But a great, great drive from Yamaha. Well controlled, his first win of the season. Really making the most of that reverse grid start. Suzuki taking second. Again, a great result for Toyota. Kawamoto taking third, which I'm sure he'll be happy with. Questa in fourth. Again, maybe a little bit lower than what she'd have liked. I'm sure she'd have quite liked a podium here in both races. But by no means a bad result, fourth. Very, very strong point scoring position. And unfortunately, a little bit of a crash trying to show off for the cameras, it looks like. Selny, on his return after absence, great job for the Benetton driver, scoring a 7th. Skarwich, I'm sure, will be a little bit upset about how his 2 races have gone, but you can't be too mad about an 8th after how it started. In the first race, at least. Ferrari seems to have missed the pit lane, is reversing to try and find it desperately. You know, Moulton taking 11th. Again, I'm sure he'll be happy. And it seems like there's been a few disconnections. Either way, that will be us for this round. Join us next week at Oran Park, same time, about 8 o'clock. In British time is when you can watch when the race starts, not long after that, about 5-10 minutes after 8 o'clock. But you get a full rundown of the standings and sometimes a little hot lap. A brilliant, honestly very good racing from the drivers, given how difficult that was. Oran Park, much simpler, much shorter circuit, so I'm sure we'll see some great racing there. Hope to see you next week, and